Hi BookTube, I'm still alive and I am in London with Marc Nash.
Howdy BookTube.
So
delighted to have seen her here in my city, and we're book shopping and eating, and what better activities could there be? Back to you, Zena.
yeah, so Marc took me to 4 different bookshops. 2 secondhand bookshops which were called Scoob and Judd Books, and Gaze the Word and
Haywood Hill.
Okay.
Very posh bookshop in Mayfair.
It was.
Poshest part of London.
It was really posh. I did not feel like I belonged.
It was also very hot.
But it was good fun anyway. Yeah, I bought way more books than I should do, which I guess means it was a successful day. And yeah, we're gonna have a little look at what we hauled. So let's start with Marc.
Okay, so the first book is a book called Portrait of an Unknown Lady by Argentinian author María Gainza, translated by Thomas Bunstead. So María Gainza wrote the book Optic Nerve, which I read a few years ago when it came out, and very good it was too. Very much based in the art world, and it sounds like this is as well. I didn't know this was out. This is the last bookshop we went into, Haywood Hill, and there it was. So I've snapped it up. So I look forward to reading that. Then secondhand, I can't remember which one of the 2 bookshops, André Malraux, The Conquerors. So I read André Malraux's book, The Royal Way, which is about sort of French imperialism in Cambodia, a bit sort of the French version of Comrade's Heart of Darkness. This is set in 1920s China, and what interested me in it, it says it's sort of 4 characters, a ruthless Bolshevik revolutionary, a disillusioned master of propaganda, a powerful Chinese pacifist, and a young anarchist. And each of these conquerors, in inverted commas, will be crushed by the revolution they try to control. So I thought that sounded really interesting, and I like The Royal Way, so I thought I'd give that a spin. A Jeannette Winterson book. Now, I've read pretty much everything by Jeannette Winterson, except, funnily enough, Oranges Are Not the Only Fruit. I really like her because of her sort of lyrical, poetic writing. This is called The Gap of Time, and one I hadn't actually heard of. It's based on Shakespeare's A Winter's Tale, I think, which I'm not familiar with, so normally that sort of adaptation of a classic thing won't apply to me. I wonder if it's starting to rain, interestingly. Anyway, we'll plough on.
We've been so lucky with the rain.
Yeah. Even though we're late May, the weather today has been bright sunshine, cloudless skies, followed by snap showers. It's been more like April than May.
Which we spent inside bookshops.
Yes, fortunately. So, Italo Calvino, Into the War, which I think may surprise Zena because it's 3 short stories. But this is Calvino, so he gets a pass on that. What's this? Ah, yes, this is The System of Vienna by Gert Jonke, who's an Austrian writer. It's translated by Vincent Kling. And I read Jonke's book, Geometric Regional Novel, which is very wry and subversive. And this sounds similar. It's the protagonist takes journeys on the Austrian tram system. And it sort of apparently reads autobiographical, but then he blows it up towards the end, so I'm really looking forward to that. Gilbert Adair, who I most know for translating Georges Perec's Avoid. You're getting very wet.
Are you?
No, are you getting wet?
No.
Okay, we're a bit shaded by trees here, fortunately. So I've never read Adair's own work. This is called The Death of the Author, and just sounds so up my street. I'm really looking forward to that. I'm currently writing a book which is provisionally titled Death of the Author ×4. So I might change my title now that I've discovered that this book exists. The ingenious gentleman and poet Federico García Lorca ascends to hell by Carlos Rojas, who's Spanish via America.
What a fantastic title.
Yeah, it's a fantastic title. And this just sounds fabulous. It's 3 ages of Lorca. Obviously he died young, killed by the Spanish Phalange, the fascists. And this imagines him as I think 50-year-old or 40-year-old and an 80-year-old, and through that we get the drip of his autobiography. It's obviously also not autobiography, which I'm very interested in anyway, but also what he might have gone on to be had he not been assassinated. Next, a sci-fi book in the Masterworks series. This is Alfred Bester, The Demolished Man. I'm not going to say too much about this. I've got 4 or 5 titles in this series to read, including a Steve Beard book and a Christopher Priest book. I need to get to them, but I have to be in the mood to read sci-fi. But, you know, this sounded good. And on to a couple of, in fact, 3 non-fiction books. This is Tristan Gooley, How to Read Water, Clues and Patterns from Puddles to the Sea. And I bought this because I've got another project called Bodies of Water, which is a novel, but is looking at, one of the things it looks at is different bodies of water, hence the title, including rock pools, and this just seemed to be sort of feeding into that, so a bit of research potentially. David Boyd Haycock, Mortal Coil, A Short History of Living Longer. So I think this does what it says on the tin. It traces mankind sort of managing to push old age further and further, and what that means and what that looks like in fact. And finally, Confabulations by John Berger. It's John Berger, that's all I need to say. We're getting wet, we're going to put this on pause and then go on to Sina's books. Thanks very much. Bye, we're fleeing.
It is a few days later, after Mark and I went to 4 different bookshops. I am now up north with my in-laws, and I thought this is a very nice place to kind of have to set up the camera. I don't know, unless I get disturbed again. Anyway, I think there's going to be a lot of cutting involved in this, isn't there? So I thought I will show you my part of the book haul from the very long day in London I spent with Mark, and then possibly a few other books that I acquired one way or another. That were given to me by Bob and by Mark. So let me close this and see if the rain is too loud or not. Okay, so the rain was not an issue. Now there's somebody using power tools here, so I apologize if that is incredibly distracting. I hope it isn't. So anyway, let's just try and get on with this. So I had a great time walking about all these shops, bookshops with Mark. It was kind of a little bit crazy. You know, when you're thinking like, oh, you can never do this with like your regular friends and or spouse or whatever, because they just wouldn't have the patience. Like, bless him, my husband's probably quite patient when it comes to my let's seek out random bookshops where we go and travel shenanigans, but never would he be able to wait that long. So yeah, that was really good fun. Anyway, so I ended up buying 9 books in those bookshops. Second-hand bookshop. That's his father-in-law. I don't know if he'll be happy with this. We'll see. Maybe I can angle this a little bit different. Second-hand bookshops, right? Best part about it, apart from saving money, is of course the randomness, sheer randomness. So I've sorted these in the order of least random to most. So some of the books that I picked up were titles that I knew existed and had theoretically wanted to read at some point but never actually purchased. And then as we go down the list, things get more random. Wait, now he's moved again. We'll see. Maybe I'll have to put some sort of sticker in. Anyway, maybe he doesn't mind at all. Right, so first shop we went to was, it's a good question actually, was it Scoop or was it Judd Books? I'm sure Mark can enlighten me on that one because I've forgotten. I've just conflated them all together now. So the first book I've picked up is not random, it's Ali Smith's How to Be Both. I've written some of her quartet, not all of it yet, but I really like the lyricism of her language, and this sounded like something I've always wanted to get to. And oh, hang on, this tells me where this was. This was Judd Books, because it's still got the sticker on it. Anyway, so picked it up for, I don't know, half the price, maybe a bit less. Doesn't matter. Then Kurt Vonnegut, Slapstick or Lonesome No More is the title, exactly. I don't know, I always have time for a bit of Vonnegut. I haven't read terribly much by him. I've read the classic sort of Slaughterhouse-Five, and also I think I very unusually I started reading him with, I guess, what you could call non-fiction, which was A Man Without a Country, which was one of those rare gifted books that were actually a good gift. In fairness, the person who gave me them has never given me a bad book as a gift, but that is probably because he himself is a reader and he actually considers your taste before choosing a book for you. Anyway, Kurt Vonnegut seems to have a rather large presence in secondhand bookshops, because in the next one we went to there was also at least 5 titles by him or something. Could have easily picked a different one, but this one I felt like I think I've read a short passage from in maybe my first semester when it was about setting, and thought it was quite funny. I mean, he is generally quite funny, I think. So that's why the choice fell on this one. Yeah, sorry about this weird lighting. Now the sun came out, I mean, which is fantastic and glorious, but now I look weird, I guess. Then another one of those authors that I just generally would like to read more of is Don DeLillo. I don't know if you actually pronounce him that way. Don DeLillo, DeLillo, who knows? I should have probably looked this up. Cosmopolis. I can't remember what I read by him. Oh yes, Falling Man. And I still have White Noise, which I've read about half of, and then it fell victim to my loss of momentum after a holiday. But yeah, I really enjoyed that. And seeing how I was with Marc, who is apparently a DeLillo completionist, it was easy enough to just ask him, like, of these ones, which one would you pick? And he chose this one, and I went with his suggestion because, okay, this might be too loud now I have to try and see. Yeah, because the suggestions usually are good. Let me stop this for a second and check. Is this the most interrupted video ever? It might be. Let's see if we can get through this without another one. So, where did we stop? Don DeLillo. Okay, and then the next one, also one that I already had on my radar. Well, yeah, Susan Sontag's On Photography. Never read the whole thing, just read a few parts of this because I needed it for papers that I wrote, and thought that I should at some point read the full thing, as well as another, actually there's 2 other ones that I would like to read by her. One is Regarding the Pain of Others, and the other one is Against Interpretation. But yeah, this is the one they had there. Okay, and I think the other ones I got at Scoob Books then. Is it called Scoob Books or Scoob? Anyway, so first is A Trip by, what is her name? Ellie Williams? Ellie? I'm not sure. It's a weird spelling of the name. Anyway, short stories. I can't even tell you why exactly this spoke to me, but I definitely had it in my shopping basket once when I was browsing the publisher's website, Influx Press. Oh, hang on, maybe this is why. Let's read the blurb for once, right? We haven't read any blurbs. A Trip and Other Stories celebrates the tricksiness of language just as it confronts its limits. Correspondingly, the stories are littered with the physical ephemera of language. Dictionaries, dog-eared pages, bookmarks, and old coffee stains on older books. This is writing that centers on the weird, tender intricacies of the everyday where characters vie to own their words, tell tall tales, and attempt to define their worlds. With affectionate, irreverent, and playful prose, the inability to communicate exactly what we mean dominates this bold debut collection from one of Britain's most original new writers. Well, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of catnip for me, I guess. We'll see if it fulfills my expectations. Right, next one seemed very apt, seeing how I was there with Marc, because this is The Council of Egypt by Leonardo Sciascia. I should really ask my Italian friends how you pronounce that name. So anybody who watches Marc Nash's channel will have probably seen in the last year that probably read the whole body of his work or something within 1 year. Which is a huge endorsement. But apart from that, I do remember also that every single time he wrapped up his reading and talked about one of these books, that they all sounded really fascinating, apart from, you know, whether Marc likes it or not. Plus, you know, it's set in Sicily, and I really like that idea. And, you know, the author is from Sicily. I have a very soft spot for Sicily anyway. And yeah, it was kind of a natural choice to get this. Also, have you looked at the state of this? It's clearly never been read. And it's a beautiful, beautiful book. Look, it's so pretty. Anyway, that's that one. And I always love this, right? When booksellers do this, when you go to the till to pay and they comment on, oh, this is a really great choice, and they did this with this one. I know it's tiny, but I also used to do this when I worked in a bookshop, and people kind of like it. They feel seen as an individual, even though it's such a small thing. Oh, and this was fun. The person at the till asked me if I was a student because they had a student discount of 10%, which is fantastic. So that was an added bonus. And actually, I think now in London, yeah, I was asked twice if I was a student to be offered a discount. That has not happened in ages anywhere in Germany. I don't know what happened. Do I look younger to people in London or England or whatever? Or I don't know. But it was nice. It was nice. The other time was in the Tate Britain, where I got like a £2 discount, I think, on an exhibition. Who cares? Sorry. This is not the point of this. Then, okay, now we're getting into the really random territory, I guess. And so this is Alexander Trocky-Kane's book. Another Marc Nash recommendation, I guess. Yeah, it's compared to Burroughs' Naked Lunch, because it's also about, you know, the, how do you say this? The hazards of addiction, but in this case from the pen of a UK writer. I think, did he say he was Scottish? I think he did, and now I can't find the information. Oh yes, well, at least he was in Glasgow University, so I guess he might well be a Scottish writer. Anyway, that's all I know. Then I just opened a random page and see how I like the writing, and then picked it up. And the last two were books that were neither recommended nor did I know that they exist, which is obviously most fun. So one is Antonio Moresco's Distant Light, which was translated by, Richard Dixon. So this clearly stood out to me. simply for the fact that it's square and it actually sticks out from the row. But it just sounded so fascinating. Okay, so this is about the author, which sounded interesting. Antonio Moresco is the author of more than a dozen works of fiction. His debut book of short stories, Clandestinita, appeared in 1993. In the Financial Times, Giuseppe Genna described Moresco as an amalgamation of Pynchon and DeLillo? Who knows? And Canti del Caos as a masterpiece that raises Moresco to the heights of Italian literature, placing him in a line that moves beyond post-modernity, and so on and so forth. That already sounded like catnip to me. Can't help myself. Let's have a look at the actual... Is that the blurb, or do you call blurb what people say that are quoted about the book? Is this both? Is this a synopsis? Why do I not know these things? Anyway, a man lives in solitude in an abandoned mountain village, but a mystery disturbs his isolation. Each night at the same hour, a distant light appears on the far side of the valley. What is it? Someone in another deserted village? A forgotten street lamp? An alien being? Finally, the man is driven to discover its source. There he finds a young boy who also lives alone in a house in the midst of the forest. But who really is this child? The answer at the secret heart of this novel is both uncanny and profoundly touching. Antonio Moresco's work is a moving meditation on life and the universe we inhabit. Moresco reflects on the solitude and pain of existence, but also on what man shares with all around him, living and dead. So there you go. I can't explain why I pick up books. And the last one is definitely the most random one. It could have easily been missed. So it was on either the lowest or the second to lowest shelf near the bottom, where sometimes you kind of don't even look. But because we had so much time and patience, I did actually scan every single, row of books. And this one is called Adibas by Georgian writer Zaza Bukuladze. I should have also looked this up, no clue. And it stuck out like this, and I just saw Adibas, which is obviously using the same font as Adidas, the brand. Thought, what's that? Is that a piss take? Who knows? Let's have a look. And yeah, the blurb just sounds fascinating. Let's read it. War is raging in Georgia. Russian fighter planes are thundering overhead, and yet for some, the falling bombs cause no more impact than the slight ripple moving through the purified water of their swimming pools, or the rattling of a spoon in their cappuccino cups. Adibas is a tragic satire describing the progressive falsification of life, invaded by consumer goods, consumer sex, consumer carnage. A war novel without a single battle scene. Zaza Bukuladze's, I don't know, I'm sorry. So his or her, Adibas anatomizes the Western world's ongoing feast in a time of plague. Seems kind of very timely as well. I do wonder, this is not from then, or from now, of course, not contemporary, but it seems timely. When was it published? So this is so this is originally published in Georgian in 2010, and it was then translated